Welcome to our Car Buying in 2020 and Beyond webinar. Today, we will be joined by Edgar and Renee Leon from Aurora AutoPros, Steve Anderson from our auto broker partner at AutoTrek, and I'm Shanna over at Fitzsimons Credit Union. Just so you know, there will be a poll at the end of this to give you your feedback, and we will be announcing the winner of our $25 Visa gift card at the end of this webinar as well. And we'll also have time for questions. So what we'll discuss today, we will look at how to determine how much car you can afford, how to deal with dealers, your options for research tips for cars and online resources, test drive and visual inspection tips, how to decipher those tricky financing options and warranties, and much more. So first off, a little bit about Fitzsimons. We are a local credit union based in Aurora, Colorado. We originally started inside the Fitzsimons Army Hospital back in 1955. And originally we were primarily a community credit union for Aurora, but now we serve the wider Denver metro area. So with Fitzsimons, we serve those in Denver, Arapahoe, and Adams County. For those who don't know, a credit union is very much similar to a bank. We offer all the same exact products and services. The only big difference is we are a not-for-profit, which means any profit we make at the end of the year goes back into our members' pockets in one way or another. That could be offering higher dividends rates on savings accounts or other interest earning accounts, or just keeping our rates lower on loans. At a credit union, you are a member, not a customer, because as a member, that signifies your part ownership of the credit union. One of the cool things about credit union is we are a co-op. So basically you can go inside almost any other credit union and do the same exact transactions as if you were at your home credit union. And we also offer the second largest surcharge-free ATM network in the country. So for example, pretty much any ATM you would see inside a 7-Eleven is part of our network. And of course, a lot of ATMs inside other credit union locations are also part of that network. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is knowing if you are ready to even start the car buying process. So one thing you want to look at is your credit report and credit history. You want to see if your credit report is clean. Have you been paying all your other obligations on time? So for example, are you able to pay any loans you have on time, or any credit cards or anything like that on time? Because if you aren't able to, then it's probably not a good idea to take on more debt. You also want to look at your credit score. Your credit score and credit history helps determine the rate you get and the terms you will get for your loan. The better the credit score, the better rate and terms you will get for your loan. And of course, you do want to make sure you aren't living paycheck to paycheck. Just so you know, you can check your credit report for free at annualcreditreport.com, and that allows you to check your credit report from each of the free credit bureaus. So you can check your report with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. A lot of times people will divide that up in the year, so you can check your credit report with Experian once every 12 months and so on, but you are entitled for that free credit report from each of those credit bureaus once per year. Just to note that members of Fitzsimons Credit Union can check their credit score and credit report for free through our online banking platform. This will give you the TransUnion report, and then TransUnion uses what is called the FICO score. So when you log in to our online banking and click on our Savvy Money option, it will give you what your current credit score is based on your credit history. And you can also see what the average credit score is in your area as well. So kind of going in to figure out if purchasing a car is right for you at the moment, you want to look at your budget. So a nice trick I like to use is kind of, you know, before you actually make the commitment to pay a loan, because essentially a loan is a contract and almost impossible to get out of once you sign on that dotted line, or in this case, usually virtually sign and send it away, is you want to test out a loan payment. So you want to look at your budget and kind of figure out what would you be comfortable paying on a monthly basis. So what you can do is you can create an extra savings account and then, figure out the payment amount you're comfortable with and start sending that over into that savings account each month. So if you are in the process of looking at purchasing a car and you have the time to plan that out, you could, for example, set up that savings account and set aside $200 each month to see if that fits within your budget. The nice trick to that is you can figure out that fits within your budget, and then you have all that savings in that account that you can put towards a down payment. But some other things you want to look for when you're figuring out the budget is how long do you want to have a loan for? So how long do you need to plan out that this is what your budget is going to be like? And if you, let's say, don't have enough money to purchase a car offhand, you also want to look at where you can borrow the funds for getting that car. So a lot of times you can go to a financial institution like a bank or credit union, or you can go through a dealer themselves. And I'll probably repeat this a couple times, but it's always important to focus on the overall cost of the vehicle and not just the monthly payments, because some of those terms and offers can be a little confusing. So what you might think, let's say you might get a lower monthly payment and you might think, oh, then I'm just paying less for the car overall. But when you find out when you do the math, you're paying more for that vehicle overall. So when it comes to getting a car, it's not just about the purchase for the car offhand. There's all these other hidden costs that you have to account for, such as gas, insurance, repairs, maintenance, and also depreciation. A lot of cars, especially newer cars, will depreciate quite a bit within the first few years. So for example, I know according to Edmunds, with some newer cars, the moment you drive it off the lot, it can depreciate as much as 11%. And I know a lot of vehicles will depreciate within that rate within the first few years. So that's one thing you want to look at. But there's also a lot of benefits of purchasing a new car as well. And some of these stats over here are just based on an average price of a vehicle of $12,000. Some differences between used and new. New, of course, is more likely to be reliable, has a warranty, so you don't have to worry about repairs as much. And cars these days have a lot more nicer comfort features that you might not find in a lot of older vehicles. Though one of the benefits of used vehicles is they don't depreciate as much. And also you have more knowledge of like the history of the repairs that might be needed for those vehicles and those sort of things. Because sometimes with newer vehicles, there might be a lot of defects that might come along that you might not be aware of until those cars have been on the market for quite some time. Leasing may also be an option that you can look for. Leasing might be the best option for you is if you don't drive that much in a given year. So a lot of times there might be terms of a lease where you have to drive less than $10,000 to $15,000 a year. But if you go over that amount, additional charges may apply. A lease might be a good option for you if you want the latest and greatest in car features and you just don't like to commit to having a car for a long period of time. And a lot of those leases have maintenance, so you don't have to deal with repairs or any of those things quite as much. But the downside is you don't have a vehicle that you can later sell or holds value or you can keep in the long term. So in some ways it's a little bit of the same versus renting versus buying, but each have their own pros and cons. All right, so the first step is you want to get pre-approved after you've figured out that you are ready to finance a vehicle. Getting pre-approved gives you at least better buying power and gives you more knowledge up front of what you can actually afford and the rate you should be expecting. You shouldn't be afraid to do a bit of rate shopping. A lot of times you can bundle your inquiries together as long as you are applying for essentially the same loan amount within a 45-day period, since most financial institutions uses the FICO. So you can, let's say, you have 3 financial institutions you're with, you can, fill out a loan application with each of those just to see what rate you get or what offer you will get. And then you'll have that offer and rate in mind when you're going car shopping. And this also keep in mind if the dealership you're with also gives you a loan rate, and then you can decide which one is best for you. Just to note that you can apply and get pre-approved completely online at Fitzsimons. We have made a lot of steps to make sure that is easy as possible. So yeah, when financing, keep the final price in mind and not just the monthly payments. I'll do an example of that in just a moment, just so you can see what the difference can be. Always look at the length of the loan term, and just keep in mind that it's just as long as the loan rate and calculates into what you pay for the car in the end. And like I suggested before, you can always try on a car payment to see if it fits within your budget. Just so you know, when it comes to getting approved for a loan, your financial institution will look at 3 things. It will be based on your credit history, your ability to pay past debts on time, your ability to pay a loan. We will look at your income and other debt history to see if the offer we give to you fits within what you can afford on a monthly basis. And then there's always collateral. So there's always a chance with a car loan, if you don't pay it within a certain amount of time, that car can be taken as collateral, because when you have a loan, you don't essentially own the car completely yet. So we're going to do a little bit of an activity. So we have a car loan for $7,500. Which one do you think has the lowest total cost? The first one is a loan with 4% interest for 36 months. And the second one is 5% interest for 24 months. So if you want, in the comments, put down which loan you think has the lowest total cost. All right. So between these 2 loans, the first loan has a monthly cost of $221.43, and that total cost is $7,971.48. And the second one has a monthly cost of $329.04, and that one ended up being the lower one at $7,896.85. Even though there's not a huge difference between the two, you can see that the monthly cost doesn't always add that that vehicle has the lower cost overall. So it's just always something to keep in mind. Another thing to look for is if you end up in an upside down loan, because occasionally it does happen. So in cases like this, you may want to make sure you don't finance for longer than when you plan to own it. And you want to make the largest down payment you can until you're able to get out of that. And a lot of times you can often refinance to get a better term and rate. And one thing we always look for is look into gap insurance. And I'll go more into those insurance options in a minute. Next thing we're going to look at is determining the right vehicle for you. So things you want to look at is prioritizing things that are necessary, things that are somewhat important to you, and wants. So things you don't actually need but would love to have in a car. Then you always want to make sure you do your research. So we always suggest that you look at Edmunds.com, Kelley Blue Book, NADA Guides. You can also always check the Carfax. A lot of times when you're at the dealership or you purchase the car, the Carfax will be included with it. So you can always look through the car's maintenance history or repair history, consumer reports, or you can always go to carcomplaints.com just to see if there are, common issues with the vehicle you're looking at purchasing or the vehicle and model. And you also want to look at if buying a new car, a used car, or even leasing a car are the best option for you. So we're going to do another activity. So we have Claire, and she's from Boulder, Colorado. She is a recent graduate who needs a car to make a 40-mile daily commute to clinical in the suburbs. She's looking for something safe, dependable, and cost-effective. She loves to camp and hike and wants room for gear, friends, and her dog. She would love to have a blue car with a great sound system and a moonroof. So her must-haves are safety rating, anti-lock brakes, gas mileage, and a lot of storage because she has a very active lifestyle. Things that are somewhat important: number of seats, the interior. She wants a nice interior to clean, of course, because she's so active. And then these are more wants than needs, so the color of her car and moonroof, as well as the sound system. So between these cars, which one should Claire get? Feel free to answer in the comments. All right, so we're just going to move on. If you think that the four-door sedan is the perfect one for Claire at the moment, you're right. The four-door SUV has some of what Claire wants, but doesn't have the greatest gas mileage, and she has to commute a lot. And then this two-door one doesn't quite fit within her active lifestyle. So this four-door kind of, meets between some of the things she wants and the things that she needs to have. All right, some things you want to look at is protecting your investment and finances. So with auto insurance, it's always important to do some rate shopping as well. So you can always kind of look at different companies and see, what they would offer you or what your monthly payment would be for your auto insurance. With an auto loan, we do require full coverage, so that is something you'll have to factor in when you get a car loan. A lot of times, if you don't get your own car insurance, there will be a force-placed insurance provided by the financial institution. And a lot of times that can be more costly versus if you did some rate shopping or offer shopping yourself. Another thing you want to keep in mind is sometimes the lowest, auto insurance isn't always the best. So you always want to look and, look at reviews and get feedback just to see how easy it is to file claims, or, insurance companies can also have different ideas on what the value of a repair would be, or a value of what your vehicle will be if it's totaled or anything like that. So you always want to look around and also check for discounts that might be offered to you as well, especially for, good driving record. This isn't too common, but some, if you're a student, might offer a good grade discount. And insurance rates can also be based on your credit history and credit score and things like that as well. Some other ways to protect your investment are looking at guaranteed asset protection, or gap coverage. So gap coverage comes in, let's say if you get a new vehicle and let's say it's worth $20,000, but over time it depreciates, so its value now ends up at $15,000, but you still are paying for it, so your loan amount is still $17,000. Let's say you get in a wreck and that car is completely totaled. That gap insurance will kind of cover between the amount of the car is worth versus how much you still owe on it, so you don't lose out on in that case. Mechanical breakdown protection is just another extended warranty sort of thing. It can help you for certain repairs and those sort of things. And debt protection is a good insurance to have if you ever end up in a pinch. So debt protection is useful for, let's say, in the case you have a death, or you lose on a job, or your income all of a sudden shifts and you're not making as much as you used to. Debt protection can help cover the cost of that loan, or it can reduce how much you're paying that month on your loan, depending on the case. So those are all things to look at and have on hand. Like I said before, you will be required to have auto insurance coverage. And in the state of Colorado, you're required to have insurance as well. To my knowledge, there's only 2 states in the U.S. that don't require insurance. I know one of them is Virginia, but I can't remember what the other one is. But just some things to look at. You know, you have auto collision. Comprehensive can be helpful in cases of, let's say, hail or trees or those kind of things. Colorado has a lot of crazy weather, so it's always something you want to look at, since, you know, it seems like each year seems to be targeted for hailstorms, or, you know, snowstorms can cause, you know, tree branches to break and possible damage to your vehicle. And of course, uninsured is also helpful in the case when you get hit by an uninsured driver. All right, I'm going to turn everything over to Steve Anderson, and he is going to tell you more about the car buying process. All right, Steve, are you able to switch?
Switch?
Yes. Are you able to share your screen?
Nope.
All right. I'm going to stop share and hand it over to you.
It's not pulling up. You better switch back.
All right. I can definitely do that.
Yeah, it's not flipping.
All right. Well, you can just let me know when you want me to transition.
Okay. Well, we are a credit union buying service. We've been doing this in selling used cars from our own inventory, and we also go out and find them. And we've been an auto broker. AutoTrek's been around since 1996, so we've been in the credit union industry for quite a while. We can change the next slide. Next slide, please. There we are. Franchise dealers versus brokers. Franchise dealers have their own location. There are groups out there that have multiple dealerships, and they have a very high overhead. And they do have lots of vehicles, and primarily, of course, they have all new vehicles. We kind of help going back and forth between dealerships to find the right car, because a lot of them don't like to trade between one dealership to the other. So we'll actually facilitate that happening and make sure that the member gets the car that they want. And primarily, they are all commission-based sales. So they have that going. But we actually will sit down with the member as part of this personal vehicle shoppers and go over completely everything that Shauna just talked about. When you try and get into a vehicle, we look at everything and try and make sure that they have at least a couple of vehicles to pick from. And we try and make sure they get into the right one, because you don't want to be in the wrong one, that's for sure. But we have access to every new car that's out there, yeah, including Tesla. But and we also do a lot of finding of used cars for people. Although it's kind of difficult when we're looking at those. When somebody is stuck on a color like the last woman was, had to be a certain color with a certain color interior. It's hard to find a used car that way. But anyway, but we try and keep it all together. Plus we do at-home deliveries, or we also do them at credit unions as well, or somewhere else, but we'll do it off-site. Okay, next. Federal Trade Commission, used car rules. This has been around since like the early 80s. Basically, it was to take care of dealers that would say that they're offering a warranty, but they didn't. They didn't make sold as is very clear. So the federal government came up with a buyer's guide that goes on the vehicle. And honestly, I doubt anybody reads them, but they're there. And they have to be displayed on the car, or you get a big fine as a dealer. But it does give the buyer the option of going through it all, and it does outline to a point. It's just kind of, the buyer's guide is like something from the 80s. It just hasn't updated itself to 2020. So it's kind of redundant on what it does. But buyer's guide's always there, and it lists everything on the back of it, not on the front. So you have to look at both sides. Okay, next. You're good, very good at flipping, Shauna. If you're doing it, if you're going to buy a car from a private party, well, first thing is you don't see an FTC, because that's a used car rule, only applies to dealers. And you can get a copy of that just by going online. They're available out there all over the place. Used car guide list just kind of gives you an idea. But none of this stuff applies to a private party. The seller's supposed to live up to promises, but you'll find that that doesn't always work. But sales generally on a private party or as is, and you know, the warranty on a newer vehicle can transfer, but not so much on the service contracts that are out there. Not very many of them are transferable. The one thing with a private party purchase also is we usually get involved with those as well. We will have the member bring it in, and for, I think it's a $200 or $250 fee, we'll take it through and have it checked out at one of our service facilities that we use, and make sure that the title work is correct. We'll actually buy it from the seller and then resell it to the member. That's to make sure that we have a title and everything goes through and there's no headaches with that. But it's we do those quite a bit on private parties, but that's just a little addition. But okay, next one. Pricing on the window sticker. Oh, MSRP. I think everybody knows what that means, but it's supposed to be what the manufacturer thinks that the car should be sold for. And it generally really doesn't have a whole lot to do with anything other than when you go to finance it, because you come into a loan to value issue, if it's above it. But everything is listed on the MSRP, complete with all these things that are listed here, except for market adjustments. That's something that if there's no vehicles around, like a new Toyota Tundra, there's none of those around. But if there was one or two, they're going to bring to it, and they'll charge $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 over the MSRP. And the sticker price is kind of the MSRP. So that's just all it tells you. Is that that's what they're looking for? But you have access to a lot of different computer programs out there or apps, I should say, to verify and find out what each option is available and what packages you have to get the options. But that'll be something I think we talk about later. So we can flip to the next one. There you are. These are kind of middle of the road kind of things that you look for on pricing. It's not, the dealer invoice is not exactly what the dealer pays for the car. They're added to that is like advertising, floor planning, holdback, which holdback means it's they charge each vehicle a holdback fee, and that holdback fee is to pay for parts that come into the dealership, and it's just a floating amount that sits there. that's how the dealers end up with having the incentive to buy more parts. And the dealer incentive is based on, generally there's some kind of contest or program that the manufacturer will do back to in the dealer group, that if you sell so many, then you're going to get an extra 500 off these vehicles or 1,000 off these vehicles or whatever. But it's generally, that's what that means when it says incentive. So the true cost really will vary from one manufacturer to the other, depending on how they come up with their true MSRP or true invoice price or true cost to them, really is more it. But that's what's kind of in all of that. A lot of times we can end up getting these vehicles for people for invoice minus holdback and minus anything as far as dealer incentives go as well, because we buy a lot through fleet. So we end up getting that in the pricing for members. The rebates, yeah, there's a bunch of different ones. There's, you have to kind of, some of them are loyalty rebates. So if you had a Chevrolet and you're buying another Chevrolet, then you get a rebate. But if you didn't have a Chevrolet, you don't get the rebate. Or it could be veterans rebate. If you're a veteran, you get a rebate. So there's just different rebate programs out there. So, but the loyalty one is the one that's most used right now. They're trying to, manufacturers are trying to keep people with their vehicles. So we'll have to wait for questions on that one. I'm sure there's going to be, but okay, let's go to the next one. I can't think of anything else to say on that. Warranty periods will range from one manufacturer to the other. You have your basic one that's 3-year, 36,000 miles. Then you have something like a Hyundai that goes out 100,000 miles. So, but they all have kind of a decreasing coverage as the vehicle gets older, from a bumper to bumper standpoint. So the new car warranty has what they call a bumper to bumper, front to rear, everything underneath, everything involved. So if your computer goes out on your car, they replace it with a brand new one. What they don't cover is when you run into a curb or you do something silly with the car and it ends up getting, something breaks and it was not the fault of the car, but more the driver. That's what they don't cover. That's kind of an overall picture of that. That's really what it comes down to. The maintenance agreement. There are some maintenance agreements that are included in the new car price. Others are sold aftermarket or after the point of sale, and they can include a lot of things. And most of the time, they're with the manufacturer one, they do it, and it doesn't cost the person anything. Some of them are kind of limited to what they are giving you for maintenance, but no matter what, they don't cover things like you wore the tires out. That something like that's not covered. Even though you have to do it, it's not really a maintenance item. So they kind of have to, but it's disclosed in those agreements on what is what's there. It's a dealer network readily available. We work with a deal. Well, we probably have at least 2 or 3 dealers that we work with in every make. We do that so that we can end up with the right car, so they can flip back and forth. But it is available, and we can help push someone to the right dealership if they want to do that, and give them someone to talk to, actually. But anyway, next one, please, Jen. Well, full warranty on the used car. That really depends on which warranty you get. Some of them, some mechanical breakdown policies are actually an insurance that only kicks in when it's necessary, but it's also doesn't quite cover everything. It's kind of a helper kind of thing. The one that we had on a slide back before, the Route 66, is a true warranty type product. So it would cover your basic, pretty much anything that happens to the car. It's almost a bumper to bumper, but not quite, but it's very close. Most warranties on a used car, you have to take it to a dealer and have it repaired. But the warranty company has to approve it. So they'll send out someone to go check it out. I don't know what service provided free means, but they'll replace some stuff and under the warranty. Most warranties have a tow included, and they also have an agreement to provide a rental car while it's being repaired as well. That's about it on warranty on a used car, but you definitely want to get it. When you're looking back at what your expenses are and how you're going to buy a car, the last thing you want is to replace a $7,500 transmission, or go with a Land Rover at $17,000 to repair the transmission. But most warranties, and I'm sure Edgar can go into that on his side of it, on what he sees as far as the warranties and how to handle them. He's probably got a lot more that he can throw in there on that. Okay, next, please.
Yep, and I just wanted to add that Route 66 is our preferred mechanical breakdown partner. And it does offer things like roadside assistance as well. But yeah, I'll head over to the next slide. Thank you.
I think I said Route 66 though. It's a good product. Gosh, do your homework before you go to the lot. That's a great statement. And there are so many different ways you can do this. If you're looking at a new car, Edmunds is a pretty good source for it. We have a auto resource center that is actually on Fitzsimons' site, on their website, that also gives you a thing that's called Chrome data, and you can build a new car from scratch. So, and if you can't build it that way, it won't let you. So you can't put take a convertible and put a sunroof in it. It won't allow you to do that, or put a snowplow on the front of it. But there are so many places out there to get a true market value as a base. Now, it won't list things like what's available rebate-wise or what the current conditions are, which is crazy right now. But it gives you the invoice pricing, and it gives you the retail price, so you can check them both. You can go through the same site and do NADA for your trade-in, or we have TrueCar, which TrueCar will give you what they call AccuTrade, and that will also give you that. And it says I'm getting close to the end. So that's how you can get your value on your trade-in. The other side is you can go to Car Gurus and check out what your car looks like, and it will give you a great deal, good deal, terrible deal, but it'll give you an idea of what they're selling for in the market. But you really don't, you should go into it getting what you want. There's enough out there, as long as you don't get too picky on used, but on new, we should be able to get you whatever you want, or you can get, with your knowledge that you've built from there, you can really be able to do a good job with making sure that the dealer doesn't push you into something. But definitely don't be afraid to walk out. There's nothing wrong with that. You can always walk away with it. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure that you don't, but you can walk out of it. Okay, excellent. Or is that my last one? I don't remember. Oh yeah, real quickly, we'll go through this. We've been doing delivery at home or at office or at the credit union since 1996. So this is nothing new to us. But there's also a touchless way to do the contract. You can call in for an appointment for one of the consultants to bring the car out to you. It's all sanitized, it's ready to roll. But that part of it we've done for years. So we're not new to this like everybody else is. But what's really wrong with today with COVID is the fact that the inventories are so low. Everything's shut down, which we know, we all lived through it. Well, all the factories shut down. So they weren't building any cars. So now we're in a point where we have this bubble of where the inventories aren't out there. So really hard to get a hold of. And then on used cars, everybody's getting stingy on those because you can't get enough of them. The used car sales have jumped up so much. And it's just really difficult at this point. It's an area that none of us have ever gone through, but we're staying at it, and we're staying sanitized and clean and take care of everybody. But that's all I kind of want to say about that. Thank you. Okay, we went through all these, didn't we, already? But basically, just make sure you get what you want. Go through and figure it all out. All the information's out there for you.
Yeah, so
No
yeah,
problem.
Make sure you do your research and make sure you have an idea on what you need versus what you want. And of course, even though it feels like you can always walk away, like Steve says. But I'm going to turn everything over to Edgar and Renee from Aurora AutoPros. Are you guys looking to share your screen?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to stop the share, so just scroll to the top and click New Share and go to the slide.
Okay, let's see here.
And then for our audience, I'm going to thank you guys so much for your patience. And just as a reminder, after this section, we'll hold a Q&A. We'll also announce the winner of our $25 Visa gift card. But I want to thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Even though I didn't mention this at the beginning, I will also send a virtual version of our card checklist. So it gives you things to check for on a car and also to kind of help plan out the finances and what you're looking for in a car as well, and as well as resources. All right.
All right, so just give me a minute here. Having Renee helping me out.
Yeah. Hi, guys. All right. I'm going to see about.
All right, everyone, a poll's about to come out. So while we're waiting, just answer that real quick.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, looks
Hi,
like we're
I'm
ready.
Edgar. Okay, so I'm Edgar from Aurora AutoPros, and with my wife Renee here to my side. So I'm so glad that you guys are doing this, because this is one of those things that we encourage our customers to do every time that they buy a car, to do what we call a pre-purchase inspection, okay? But let me tell you a little bit about us first. So we've been in business since 2013. I've been in the industry for over 30 years now. So, you know, nowadays, cars are so complicated versus when I started. So for just a regular person who wants to buy a car, it is very difficult to understand what's going on in that car nowadays. So, but anyways, again, we've been here for about 8 years now. We offer quality service that comes with a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty that it is nationwide. So because we have a lot of pride in what we do is why we offer this great warranty. So now they were talking about COVID, and real quick, I just want to say that nowadays as well here in the shop, we are taking a lot of precautions. One of them is to wear masks everywhere we are in the shop. We have ways to interact with the customers where there's plexiglass. We only try to have very limited amount of people in the lobby. We have a lockbox outside if customer doesn't want to come into the shop. We have a way to make payments also on the website or over the phone. So we have a few different ways to protect us and our customers. All right, so let's move on to the next slide here. First of all, even when I go and buy my own car, one of the things that I like to do is to do a research. Ways to do a research on the car, on the specific car that you want to buy. I will suggest, if you have a specific vehicle that you are looking to buy, look up on Google and see what people are saying about that vehicle. Read reviews or go to YouTube. YouTube has a lot of videos as well of those specific vehicles, and some people actually they take the time to do testing on them, and they can give you a good idea of how reliable that vehicle is. Another thing is to run a vehicle's report. That's always great because you get to see some history on the vehicle that you are buying, especially if it's used. And the most popular site to do that is Carfax. One thing to keep in mind with Carfax is that it's not everything that happened to that car is going to be listed in it. Because in order for that information to be a part of Carfax, the shop that work on the vehicle has to have a way to report that to Carfax, okay? And things that you want to look is that vehicle has a salvage title, a rebuild title, has to be in a flood, things like that. The importance of all of this is that so you don't have problems in the future with that vehicle. Make sure that you test drive that vehicle when you go look at it, and take your time. I think a good test drive, you should spend at least 20-30 minutes on that vehicle when you take it for a good test drive, and pay attention, to how it feels, right? And we're going to talk more about other things to pay attention when you test drive a vehicle. One of the things that I'm pretty sure here in Colorado, that when you buy a used vehicle, and you have to get an emissions test before having that vehicle put into your name. So one thing to know as a buyer is that the emissions test on this vehicle, it is the responsibility of the sellers. So one thing that I'll suggest is to ask the seller if he can have the emissions test done before you buy. That way, if that vehicle doesn't pass the test, you are not left with all the expenses of the repairs. So that way, the seller can spend the money to get it fixed. Another thing will be important is ask for maintenance records. Some people, when they maintain their vehicle, they even keep their invoices of their repairs in the glove box. Maybe they have it, or ask the seller what shops have they been taking their vehicle to, and maybe you can call that shop and ask for the history of that vehicle. So here's one of those things to pay attention when you test drive the car. First of all, see when you drive the car, how's the visibility. What I mean by that is not necessarily only what you see in front of you. Um, the cars has what they call blind spots. What that means is that when you are turning, for instance, there's in a specific area on those mirrors that you can see exactly what's going on. Make sure that you feel comfortable driving that car and that it is comfortable. So that's why it's important to spend, like I said, at least 15 to 30 minutes in a vehicle. Notice how it feels, how it handles, especially going over bumps. If it's too bouncy or going over turns and things like that. If it has too much of a noise when you drive it, make sure that turn off the radio when you do all of this. I know a lot of people want to pay attention to the radio and see how that sound system sounds, right? So it's exciting, but before that, make sure that the car gets driven with the radio turned off. Pay attention to the brakes. When you brake, make sure that you pay attention when you go on low speed or when you go on high speed. Especially on high speed, there's a chance that, if you feel a pulsation on the brakes when you apply it every time going on high speed, those brakes needs to be checked out. If there's noises when you go on a low speed, if it's pulling to the sides. So pay attention to the braking. Another thing that you want to pay attention to is that depending on the vehicle that you are buying, make sure that take your time to check on that heater and the air conditioning and play with the knobs, switch the airflow on every direction, because on some vehicles, if you miss that part, especially if you buy the vehicle as is, and if you have to do some of these repairs, it could be pretty costly. So make sure that you take your time to check the interior of the vehicle, windows, horn, wipers, lights, so sunroof if you have sunroof, all kinds of different things, right? Any warning lights. Make sure that when you start the vehicle, there are no warning lights on your dashboard, like check engine light or ABS light, airbag light. So again, if you end up buying a vehicle that has those lights on, and if the seller is not fixing those issues, it could cost you a lot of money. So here's where we.
That's the general inspection.
Give me 1 second here. Just let me make sure that I have the right. Okay. Yeah, this is just a general checklist that you can have with you. When you're around the vehicle, just walk around, see if there's any scratches or dings or something that it will be important to know. Look the inside to see how worn out it is. Especially look around the carpet, make sure that there's no mold or stains, because that could be a sign of a vehicle being in a flood before. Spare tire. Take the time to look if that vehicle has a spare tire with it and the tools to replace the tire. A lot of times, we get vehicles that we inspect for customers that they don't come with those tires. And if you get a flat, you don't have a spare tire to replace. Or if you have a spare tire, you don't have the tools. Again, hubcaps, look around. Like I said at the beginning, make sure that all the electrical items operate, turn signals, lights, and wipers, and anything that you can think of that it is in front of you. The cruise control, to make sure that the mirrors, if they have a switch that you can adjust the mirrors, make sure that they work. When you go look at the vehicle, it is important to know that the VIN number matches the title of the vehicle. Make sure that you have the title of the vehicle. Ask for that to the owner. Ask if the title is clean or if it's salvage. And then look at the VIN number on the title and compare the VIN number of the vehicle. There's a few places where you can find the VIN number on the vehicles. The most common one is on the left lower, like if you're sitting on the vehicle on the driver's side, looking through the windshield, it's on the left lower corner of that vehicle. There's one area where you can find a VIN number, or when you open the driver's side door, that you can see some stickers on it. Also, there's a VIN number in that area. Again, I talk about checking, clock, lighter, etc., all those different things. Let's see. Now, when we do this inspection here at the shop at Aurora AutoPros, we have one of our qualified technicians do the inspection. But before that, I'm going to answer a question for Julia. Julia was asking, what's the process of, if you haven't bought the vehicle yet, to take the vehicle to the repair shop. So this is what I have learned from our customers. If they're buying the vehicle from a dealership, some dealerships, they have a form that you have to sign that they make you responsible to drive the vehicle, and they can let you drive the vehicle for a few hours or for a day, or you can tell them, look, I need to take this car to my mechanic, and I'm not going to buy it until they check for me. Some people have the dealership drop off the vehicle to us, and after the vehicle is inspected, we contact the customer and we give the car back to the dealership. Obviously, there is a charge for this inspection. A good inspection usually takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do. Okay, but if it's a private seller, same thing. We have had private sellers that they brought the vehicles to us with the buyer, and make sure that whoever checks your vehicle takes enough time to look at it properly. Okay. But now, one of the first things that we do when we have the vehicle with us is a good test drive. On the test drive, we check like all the things that I already told you, from how it's handling, how the engine feels, the transmission, the brakes, the cruise control, noises, suspension, and things like that. To make sure that we have a very good test drive and we're paying attention to everything that it's going on at that moment. We drive the vehicle at low speed and we go up to 65 miles an hour to see how it feels at that point. And then we do bring the car back to the shop and we do a physical inspection. We have a digital inspection where we have over 50 points that we cover on this inspection, that we take pictures, we can take videos, we can give you a full report of the things that we can check. We remove the tires to check the brakes. We look for rust to see if the vehicle has rust. We look for signs if the vehicle has been in an accident. We connect our scanner to see if there's any hidden codes in the transmission, computer, or the engine, etc. Some cars nowadays could have up to, 30 computers in it. And, we do a full scan to all those computers to see if there's any codes. It does not include this pre-purchase inspection, does not include any diagnostics. So it's just the inspection. So if there's something to be diagnosed, all that is extra. So we spend pretty good time when we do our inspections. But I think one of the advantages for the customer to do this inspection, not only know what's the condition of the vehicle, right? But also gives you a negotiation power, that when you go back to your seller and say, look, these are the things that we found on it. So if you're still interested in buying the vehicle, you can ask the seller to see if they're willing to have those repairs done before you buy the vehicle. Or you can negotiate probably a discounted price, and then you as a buyer can be responsible of the repairs on it. So now
They had asked about warranty.
They ask, Steve asked about warranty. Yes, I have my opinion, and I'm gonna try to be professional here. Be very careful when you buy this. They call it a extended warranty insurance, if you will, extended warranties. Make sure that you understand exactly what are you buying. Make sure that you read the fine print. There is a very high percentage of customers that we get coming to the shop with those extended warranties that they get very disappointed because they've been told, look, this warranty is to cover all your repairs. It's not like that. There is a copay that you have to pay, but at the same time, there's different levels of these extended warranties that only cover certain things. Don't get me wrong, if the car, the engine goes bad or the transmission goes out, again, a lot of these warranties, they do cover that. But my experience hasn't been the best. So make sure that you read those extended warranties fine print before you buy it, because you want to understand exactly what you're buying. They're not cheap, and they don't cover everything. When they cover those expensive repairs are great, but again, make sure that you understand what you're buying. Other than that, I mean, that's it. If you have any questions, so be
All
more
right.
than happy to answer.
All right. So if you want, we will announce the gift card winner. But in the meantime, just enter in any questions you have in the Q&A or in the comment section. All right. And I'll just do a quick share screen real quick. One thing I wanted to add to the warranty comment is a lot of warranty programs, you are able to cancel them. And if you're canceled within like the first 60 to 90 days, sometimes you can get a full refund. Or a lot of warranty programs, you will get a refund from the amount you haven't used. So if you do have a warranty, you can always look and see if there's a way for you to cancel and get some money back as well. Because I know a lot of dealerships, there's a lot of pressure to also include some type of warranty as well. So that's something to look into. All right. Oh yeah, it just started me over. All right. So the winner of the $25 Visa gift card. Oh dear, the comment section just disappeared. Well, it's Eric. And let's see, Eric Ordonez. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but I will be getting in contact with you on how you can receive that gift card. But congratulations, Eric. All right. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, from Deb. Thanks for holding this session. Thank you, Deb, for joining us. Oh, I am unable to look at the questions, unfortunately, Anna. Are you able to read those for me? Oops. Sorry. Yeah, and if you could read the questions or type them in the comment section, apparently I'm unable to view them.
Oh yeah, I just put it on the chat, but the first one is, did you discuss gap insurance?
Yes. So gap insurance, what question did you have about it exactly? It's mostly really important in the cases if you get a brand new vehicle that can depreciate very quickly. So a lot of times gap insurance is helpful for, as I did kind of explain, maybe someone came in a little late. If you have, let's say, you get a loan for a vehicle that was originally worth $20,000, but then it depreciates to $15,000, and then you still owe $17,000 on it. Let's say you get in a wreck, that car gets totaled, it will pay you back the difference so you don't lose out on the depreciation difference, if that makes sense.
Okay, the other question is how long does the application process take to get an auto loan?
So to fill out an application, it can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes online. And to get a pre-approval, it should take less than a week. Usually within a few days, you will get an email with your pre-approval offer.
Okay, and last and not least, what's the usual way to have a mechanic look over a used car before you buy it? How does that work if you don't own the car yet?
It's always a good idea. I know Edgar could probably add more to this, but I know, for example, AutoTrek has their own mechanics, but they have no issue if you bring in your own mechanic to inspect a vehicle as well. But if you want to add on to that as well, Edgar, feel free.
Okay, first of all, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Usually, I think the question was how long does it take or how the process goes when you haven't bought the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
What the usually way to have mechanics look over a used car before you buy it? Yeah. So again, like I said, one of the important things is to communicate to the seller that you need to have the vehicle for some time, a few hours at least, to take it to your mechanic for them to do the inspection. And depending on who's the seller, some used car dealers, they let you take the vehicle. And depending on a private owner, sometimes you can also arrange that with them. And here at the shop, the best way that works is that we take those only as an appointment, just because it could take up to 2 hours to go over one of these inspections. There's over 50 points on this inspection that we do. It's a digital inspection and does not cover any diagnostics. It's only to give you a report of how the vehicle looks at that point, and we can give you that report that comes with pictures or videos and a whole analysis of how the vehicle looks. But it could take up to a few hours to get it done. Is that? That's it?
Yes, those are all the questions.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We will be sure to send you a follow-up email just so you can go back and review. This webinar will be available on our YouTube channel, and I'll also be sending along some other useful resources for you to use on your car buying process. I want to thank Steve and Edgar and Renee again for joining us this evening. Thank you so much.